So evidence helps you make a decision. If you have zero evidence, how can you know whether this coin landed on heads or not?
Well, how do you know it landed on heads or not? With the whole idea that I'm not going to be able to visually inspect it myself is a different matter that is more complex than just looking at the fucking coin.
This is where the problem comes in. With no evidence, by Russell's own question, if there's no evidence that it landed on heads, then it didn't.
No, that's not what Russell's teapot means, for one. For two, it doesn't mean that, it didn't land on heads. It just means that we don't know if it landed on heads. Also, how does this relate back to the space program? Because you remember how he said that if we thought like Russell's teapot, then we wouldn't have made it off of the Earth. And it's like, how does this relate back to the space program and us making it off the Earth? Is it because we've never been in space before? So I guess that means we can't go into space? That's also not what Russell's teapot is meant to show you.
Or it's such a low probability that it did. Is that true?
Russell's teapot has nothing to do with probability, and so you're just kind of pulling the whole probability aspect out of your ass right there up on stage. I feel like maybe this shouldn't be on YouTube with as much proctology as going on here.
If you have zero evidence, I'm telling you it landed on heads. But if you have no evidence that it landed on heads, what is the probability that it landed on heads? Is it super crazy low? So low that it might as well we just can say it didn't.
No, but also that's not what Russell's teapot means. Russell's teapot is just about providing proof for your claims. If your claim is it landed on heads, then we would need to see proof that it landed on heads. If you're not going to show us any kind of proof, then I would say that there's no way we can know for sure whether or not it fucking landed on heads. Now, does that mean that it didn't have an outcome at all? No, that's not what that means. It means that we don't know and we can't know because you won't provide the fucking evidence.
Because probability doesn't work that way, does it?
What? Probability doesn't work that way? What the fuck is he talking about? Like, considering the entire context of everything that he's talked about so far, he said probability doesn't work that way, huh? I guess he means that probability doesn't work in the way that, oh, now the coin just has no outcome after I flipped it because you can't know what it really landed on. No, that's not how probability works because probability isn't connected to that particular fucking situation.
Do you know what that thing is that you have in you that tells you there's another answer to this question?
Is it God's dick? I feel like the little thing inside me might be God's dick. I mean, this is a church after all.
Which is what? What's the probability that it landed on heads? Everybody said it first off early. 50-50. And why is it 50-50? Because there's only two options. It's going to fall one way or the other. Now, if I gave you a deck of cards, said pick a card, any card, what are the odds that the card that you would pull out of the deck would be a king that's red?
Okay, 2 over 52, which is what? 1 over 26, which is 3.8%. I mean, I either did the calculations earlier or I'm just good like that. I'm just good like that. Thank you, honey, for having so much faith in me.
That's closer to the existence of a teapot floating through space, orbiting the sun somewhere around Mars, or is it closer to a coin flip?
Considering Russell's teapot, is it meant to be anything about probabilities? Is it meant to be any kind of anything in the way of proving a god in this particular fashion? Because of that, no, I mean, I can't see how it would be close to that probability. Like, is he saying that, oh, what's the probability of a teapot orbiting the sun versus the probability of a coin flip? Where does pulling a red king out of a deck of 52 cards, follow? Like, where does that lie on that line? I mean, yeah, there's nearly none to 50-50 or 50%. So it would definitely be closer to 50% no matter what it is, because the teapot doesn't have any kind of fucking probability associated with it.
You know that it's the coin flip, right? I mean, the odds of the teapot right now, a teapot currently flying through space. I'm telling you, you have to think logically, like this has actually happened. There is a teapot currently out there. Do you believe that?
Well, no, I don't, because it's a philosophical thought experiment to demonstrate the burden of proof. It's not meant to be a serious claim right now. The whole object of Russell's teapot is to show you how you have to prove it, just like Russell would have to prove that there's a teapot orbiting the sun. Now, is there a way that Russell could prove that? Sure. If the teapot is orbiting the sun the same way that Mars or any other planetary body is orbiting the sun, then you could easily take out a telescope, and if you knew exactly where it was supposed to be, you could definitely look out into the night sky or the daytime, whenever in the fuck, and you could definitely see the fucking teapot. That's how you would prove it. It doesn't matter about like what's the proclivity for teapots to fly around space all willy-nilly. Like, we don't even have to go that far. We just have to get evidence that it actually exists. Just like with your card example here, we have evidence that a fresh 52 pack of cards has 2 red kings in it. That's how they are structured. That's how we know that there's 2 red kings in it. So, given that there are 2 red kings, the probability of pulling out 2 red kings is 3.8%. That literally is a probability, whereas Russell Teapot is just about fucking evidence. Where's your evidence? I feel like this guy doesn't know how to do fucking science. You just boil water in your teapot.